What's up YouTube, Magnolia Mo here, and welcome back to my channel. One of the best ways to enjoy your theater, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is music. Because music brings all of your speakers, whether they're bass level speakers or your height level speakers, depending on the music and the format, it'll bring all of your speakers to life. So whether it is an Aura 3D music disc or a DTS-X music disc or a Dolby Atmos music disc for that matter, right? That is, to me, in my opinion, the best way that I enjoy my theater outside of, all of the explosions and the deep bass and all of that other stuff. If you just want to sit down and listen to music in a 3D bubble, to me, that is the best way to stay calm and enjoy something, right? That you've spent so much time and energy and money in building. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a different video. It's not going to be a movie review or an equipment review or how to. It's just simply going to be a review of one of my favorite discs or favorite multi-channel discs, right? That I have right now. It is the Dark Side of the Moon 50th anniversary edition remastered, right, with the latest Dolby Atmos mix. So how many different versions of an album can one have, right? I have the SACD version, the LP version. I also have some 2-channel downloads of the same album. The one that's ingrained in my brain sonically, right, like from a layout of the sound design is concerned, is the 5.1 SACD version that I have. So before I get into the specifics of the discs, let's go over some technical stuff. Okay. Everything that you're gonna hear in these particular clips is just the height speakers and the subwoofer. My main amplifier, the Macintosh, is off. Only amps that are running are my height amps, like the Marantz 7055 and the Rasan for the 6 height speakers. The audio mixes available on the disc are Dolby Atmos 24-bit 48 kHz, 5.1 DTS HD Master Audio 24-bit 96 kHz, uncompressed audio, remastered stereo mix in 24-bit 192 kHz uncompressed audio. Whew. Why is sample rate important that I just kind of went over? Sample rate is the number of samples per second that are taken of a waveform to create a discrete digital signal. The higher the sample rate, the more snapshots you capture of the audio signal, right? The audio sample rate is measured in kilohertz, and it determines the range of the frequencies captured in the digital audio. Sample rates are usually measured per second using kilohertz or cycles per second. And then you have the bit rate or the bit depth. So what is bit rate when I say 24-bit, 16-bit, blah, 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 right? Every sample you take when making an audio recording needs to be stored within bits. The more bits you have or the more bits you use to record each sample, the better sound reproduction, right? So in other words, a high sample rate along with a high bit rate, right? So a 24-bit 192 kilohertz theoretically delivers the best audio quality of the recording. The higher the bit rate, the higher the dynamic range, and it's all about dynamic range. CDs are usually recorded at 44.1 kilohertz, which means that every second 44,100 samples were taken. A multi-channel 5.1 SACD recording has 1 bit, 2.8 megahertz, which is 64 times 44.1 kilohertz, and that's why it is lossless audio. CDs are 16-bit 44.1, which is considered a lossy format. A stereo CD sounds flat, as I mentioned, compared to a multi-channel SACD recording at a higher resolution. It's because it's just in the plane, it's right in front of you. With multi-channel SACD, you get the depth that is missing on stereo CDs, and then more immersive sound stage, sort of like 2D and then 3D movies, right? That's what I compare it to. Enter Dolby Atmos. The Atmos you get on these discs is 24 bits, 48 kilohertz sample rate. Even though Dolby had said way back when that Dolby Atmos is capable of 24-bit, 192 kilohertz sample rates. I've yet to come across a Dolby Atmos movie or music disc with a higher than 48 kilohertz sample rate. Nevertheless, Dolby Atmos, if it's done correctly, like it is on this disc, is very effective in creating a 3D bubble around the listener. In addition to the soundstage depth, Atmos adds height to the sound. And which results in a true 3D bubble. I'm not talking about gimmicky effects in the height channels. James Guthrie's mix uses every channel in my 7.1.6 system at the right time. For example, at the opening of time, which I referenced earlier, the rear and the height channels are used heavily, followed by a focus on the front, then a great mix of all the channels as the intro progresses. This mix will use all the channels in your system effectively without any gimmicks, serving the music like no previous release of this album, including the multi-channel SACD that I was referencing earlier. In the beginning of time, you got my front height, my top middle, so that was very distinct, right? And this is just the heights playing. If you add the ear level speakers, it becomes very immersive. This is Breathe. Hear the sub. On the track Breathe, in the air, I could hear more use of height channels in the beginning as Guthrie focused on main vocals and instruments in the ear level speakers. As this track gaplessly moves into track 3 on the run, you'll hear the use of all channels. Very well done. It completely immersed me in a sonic bubble that only Atmos or a 3D or DTS:X can create. All 6 of the height speakers. Keeps going from speaker to speaker. And cause 3 points to customs and then to immigration. BA 215 to room cargo pickups. May I have your attention, please? The footsteps of the person running around me in a state of panic were more audible and cleaner sounding than the 5-channel mix found on the SACD. End of On the Run. Check it out. Woo. Guthrie's mix of Money opens with mainly the air level speakers reproducing the cash register, but height channels kick in as the track progresses with guitar strums selectively heard in my top middle speakers. Then as the track progresses, the cash register is again heard in the front heights. The rear height channels are also used for some effects, but the main channels used are front and rears at ear level. This Atmos mix does a superb job of adding air to guitar and the sax solo in this track. This is the beginning of Money. Obviously the cash registers are in the bass ear level speakers, but then the guitar strums start in the top middle. There we go. Oh, top middle and top rear. Not in the front heights. Nope. So just your top middle and top rear on the rear height. Overall, the Dolby Atmos mix does a great job with various effects and adds additional separation and layers to the music. The movement from channel to channel is seamless without localization. You can find the stereo versions of this album on any streaming site, right? Any streaming platform. Apple Music has the Dolby Atmos in the stereo and the stereo version. If you have Dolby Atmos set up, I'm pretty sure you will love the Atmos mix. And if you do happen to love this, just remember, like all Atmos on streaming services, it will be on a Dolby Digital Plus mat, which is lossy. If you want to enjoy this, picking up this 50th anniversary disc version to get the lossless Dolby True HD Atmos version is my recommendation. Sounds much better than what's available on the streaming services. I hope you guys like this video. Please leave me some feedback. Do you like the multi-channel? Do you have, first of all, have you bought this particular Atmos disc? If not, do you have other Atmos discs? What do you think? What are your thoughts about Dolby Atmos on disc versus Dolby Atmos that is available on streaming, let's say Apple or Apple Music or Tidal, right? I find that the Tidal, I have to increase the volume all the way to 75 or 0 on the reference scale to actually hear something. And then if you have the SACD version of this particular album, I'm sure, like me, initially, I was taken back a little bit with the Atmos because I'm such a fan of SACD and the format and the high sample rates. But then as I listened to the Atmos mix, more and more, and I got used to it, I mean, it all made sense. The sound placement, the effects placement, and how you are literally in that bubble, that made perfect sense to me, and it made the experience more enjoyable sonically. All right, thank you for watching. Leave me some feedback, and I'll see you guys on the next one.